Matt, do you even know that song, or you're awfully young? You may not know the who sings "Come On, Eileen."
No idea.
Figured. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today, Brett?
Man, awesome. 2023 industry update. We are here. First update of the year, which I think's awesome. Yet I have a crazy conversation, which I think has a lot to do with industry trends. What happened to Southwest Airlines at the end of 2022, Matt?
It looked like all out chaos. It looked like maybe they were underprepared for a storm of some sorts.
Yeah.
And it looks like they got a little bit exposed from my perspective. What about you?
100%. I think you're spot on. I want to make some correlations to our industry around this, obviously. I think Southwest Airlines has a long-standing tradition of success and built a business model that worked really well for them for a really long time. And I think the lesson here is no matter how successful we are, technology evolves over time. And yet technology has a cost associated with it, one. And two, you have to innovate in business to survive. And what got you to the success table, if you will, in the past may change, it may not, but you definitely have to embrace technology and innovation to stay at the success table going forward. So, for instance, our industry, technology is becoming faster and faster and faster of an innovation around real estate and real estate success. And if nothing else, take the lesson of Southwest Airlines of don't be naive and try to save every dollar and not invest in technology, one. And two, don't ignore it, because you'll have your day of reckoning just like they did if you don't embrace what innovation is. Does that make sense?
It's well said. And if you look at any major company, number one, over the time span of a long enough time span, very rarely do they ever remain number one. And if they do remain number one, you've seen major changes in innovation within their own organization and their organizational model.
100%. So we should take that lesson in 2023 into real estate and go, what are the technology things that maybe I'm putting my head in the sand like an ostrich around, that I need to pull my head out and go learn? I put on my goal list this year, Matt, that I want to understand Google pay-per-click, local home services, and all the SEO to an expert level. Not that I'm going to go do it myself, but I want to be able to understand it at an expert level, meaning I'm going to have to go I need to go study, right? I need to understand how all that works, because I know that's where our industry is going. Anyway, just an interesting conversation that happened over the holidays with air travel.
Yeah, Brett, so throwing a little bit of a curveball, have you heard of Chat GPT yet? And have you used it?
No, I've not.
Great. Well, at 5 minutes, I'd like a little time to show you something neat and cool that would help your business.
Well, give me the 30-second elevator pitch.
I've got to show you more than tell you.
Okay.
And I'll show you either now or show you at the end. But
let's go. You can't tease us on this and not show us.
All right, let's do it. All right, Chat GPT. They're calling this the Google of the future. It's basically an algorithm software that will pretty much blow your mind. So you can ask this any question, right? And there's a little chat box. This is chat.gpt.com. It's got like $1 billion investment from Elon Musk, all the things. But I was just playing around with it this morning, and I said, write me a property description for a home in Atlanta, Georgia, 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
Is it thinking?
Yeah, well, this morning it wasn't thinking, so bear with me.
All right.
This would be a lot cooler if it was going right now.
Well, it's blinking.
There we go. Don't we all love writing property descriptions?
I live
Oh,
for it.
that's pretty cool. Well, I don't have a soaking tub.
Yeah,
I might take that out.
I might adjust a few things. Or write me a workout plan to lose 20 pounds. That's pretty popular these days. It's a lot quicker than this usually too. It has over 5 million people on it right now. But you can use this for pretty much anything that you want help getting started on, is the way I look at it.
Okay, so basically you're asking the artificial intelligence of a computer to answer a simple question. It may not be perfect, but it's a start.
Yes, 100%.
I love it. Look at that. That's cool. All right, Matt, you taught me something.
Welcome.
You taught me something.
Chat GPT.
Chat GPT. Let's jump into the numbers here. So outside of the Southwest Airlines meltdown, let's get over here. Not Paulding County. Let's do Fulton County. All right. So the year started, Matt, finally. I think that's kind of the term of this week's industry update. Is it felt like, okay, the first week of the month always feels weird because you don't know if people are still on vacation. I noticed a lot of real estate agents on vacation this week. Like they finished the year strong and then took a vacation. Well, whatever. Inventory is back. 613 active inventory. If you go back and look, that's a healthy number for second week of January. But more importantly, active under contract, 90 in Fulton County. That's a lot of people that contracted in the last 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
Pending, there's 153 pending, 268 closed in the last 7 days. So normally you have that boom of closing before the end of the year. 268 is our normal cadence. And look comparatively to previous weeks, January ain't looking much slower than December.
It's not a bad number.
No, I actually think that's a healthy start to January. And I think you're going to see it as we go through the numbers here. The market started. And if you're waiting on the market to start or you're slow playing this 2023, you're mistaken. Because there are people out there looking at real estate right now. You need to be out and about and moving fast because the inventory is there. The people are out there looking. The fear around the interest rate is dissipated from what I could tell emotionally. I'm not saying it's gone away, but the emotional intensity around it has come way down. So anything else we can talk as we're going. If I hit the cab, 323, same deal. The inventory's back. 45 under contract, 101. Matt, these are really good numbers. I'm pretty empowered by these numbers. 144 closed in the last 7 days. Then if I move over to Cobb County, 381 active. That's a really healthy number. It hadn't been that since maybe the first week in December. 54 active opt-in. 54 people in Cobb County chose to go under contract this week. 97 are pending and 172 closed. What do you make of these numbers?
I think you hit it on the nail on the head. I think people are seeing, and I know, we had the emotional ride of the interest rates in the second half of last year. And the stability around that's been 4 or 5 months now, really 6 months of interest rate fears and worries. And a lot of times it just takes time for the new norm to be stabilized. And I feel like people are getting more comfortable with the new norm.
Yep.
And transacting real estate, we've got real creative with our financing at this point. And as you can see, Tail, especially in Atlanta, I think we're going to go through some of the articles later. People are still moving, Brett. People still have reasons to move.
Yeah, Matt, I always use the gas prices as my analogy around the interest rates. Like I got irritated and I might even have said ticked off when the gas prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
And as did most Americans, right? But at some point in time, I just kept filling up my gas tank.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually the gas prices came down a little bit and my emotional intensity was not as high around those gas prices. The change creates emotional intensity, and then the emotional intensity comes down over time. Interest rates are doing the same thing. There was an emotional intensity around the change in interest rates going from 2-3% up to 6%. But that over time, that emotional intensity comes down and people get back, they find the new normal, right? Now, it doesn't mean affordability is not affected. It doesn't mean, the ability to qualify for what you want and all that stuff is a very real conversation. What I'm talking about though, Matt, is that emotional intensity that creating reluctance or me not wanting to move.
Yeah, and I would also add to the emotional side from the agent perspective, Brett, if you've been around in 2020 and 2021, it's been a much different, maybe never seen before, and maybe we may never see it again, type of market where transaction of real estate was just absolutely booming. And if we're looking back a little bit further, the 18 and 19, it looks very similar in the units and the percentage numbers. We've just got a lot more agents in the industry. So I think as an agent, we can also get emotional about this and feel the tug just because it's different than it's been in the last 24 months. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, hey, we're all human in this. I've had emotions around it. Like, really, another recession coming our way? Like, where's my emotional state around this? Okay, pity party, 5-minute pity party, and then let's go.
Yeah.
Right. Because the truth is if you're in this industry and you have made the choice that this is your chosen career, we don't have time for that. We're human. We're going to have emotional responses, but let's get on with it and move on to success and let everybody else that's still caught up in the emotion of it struggle, and let's go win. Let's go find our way to win. Right. So anyway, that's that on the numbers. All right. This is a fun one, Matt. So Facebook at the end of 2022 made changes to their marketplace and it freaked all these agents out. So you're not going to not be able to list your listings on Facebook. Here's what this says. From a business profile. So if I have Brett Caldwell personal page and I have Brett Caldwell business page, I cannot list my listings in the marketplace on Facebook. That doesn't say I can't put out ads because Facebook wants you to spend money and put out the ads from your business page. But the marketplace was designed, the goal was for it to be the modern day Craigslist. The goal was for it to be average consumer selling their coffee table for $100 to database. So the goal was they don't want businesses flooding the marketplace with a bunch of advertisement, which is what real estate listings kind of were. So they pulled back the ability to put listings in the marketplace from business pages. That doesn't mean you can't do it personally. Although, is it best practice? I don't know. Everything's an opinion at this point. But the bottom line is they want marketplace to be a consumer to consumer place where you can sell your coffee table, your that 10-speed bike you haven't ridden in 20 years, Mike or Matt, you could sell it on there, right? So anyway, it was kind of funny because agents freaked out. They thought they couldn't list their listings on Facebook anymore, which is not the truth. Anything you'd add?
No, I mean, real short and simple. This isn't much input, but always read a little deeper than the title. I mean, That was a very confusing title, but if you took a few minutes to read in, it's not a big deal. So
100%. All right, so let's jump into some other numbers here. So economically, what are the numbers that really drive our industry, right? So unemployment, if I didn't show it to you, which I already did, but if I didn't show it to you, what do you think unemployment was doing? Do you think it's going up or down?
well, if I wasn't aware and I was just kind of guessing, you would think it would be going up.
Yeah, you'd think more people were unemployed, but here's the truth. Now, granted, the Fed data only goes through the end of November, but we're at 2.7% in Atlanta. That's crazy low. And we're moving down, which just means that more people are becoming employed. And why is that such a good thing for us? You have to have a job to buy a house, right? And gainfully employed is a really big economic factor. So for the marketplace to becoming more employed, which at 2.7%, that basically means if you want a job, there's a job. You can have a job. People aren't out. You don't hear your friends going, man, I've been looking for employment for 6 months. Which you used to hear that. You'd have friends going, man, I've been looking for jobs forever, sending out resumes. Nobody does that anymore. You can get a job these days. And that's good for our industry and good for our economics. If you run over to inflation, and then this inflation runs through October 2022, but you can see that we've crossed the peak and inflation is now on its way down. Now, granted, the US government wants inflation to be at 2.0, which is here. So, Matt, there's still a giant gap between 2.0 and where we are. But we peaked, if you will, and it started to come down. So do we think the government will be more aggressive or less aggressive when inflation comes down?
When it's coming down, I would think they'd be less aggressive with interest rate hikes. So.
Absolutely, which I think will work in our favor. Which takes me to this next conversation, which is the 10-year Treasury note, which if you've heard us talk about it, the 10-year Treasury note's the one most closely related to interest rates. So you can see the 10-year Treasury note back at the end of the year was 3.82%. It is now at 3.5. So it's come down 3/10 of a point, right? Interest rates follow this. So we should be seeing interest rates come down a little bit. And I think that's a really healthy sign going into the new year, going into the spring market. We're hoping and anticipating getting a little interest rate relief in the spring market. And I feel really good about that. So economically, we're really, really strong. The government's just worried about that inflation. We've talked about that forever, right? What would you add?
Yeah, I think this is all really good news. And at a minimum, Brett, just the stability behind it going in that direction should be exciting and somebody you should see opportunity in, because stability does wonders for getting people who should be buying and selling real estate to actually make the leap.
100%. So here's the big story. Happy New Year. The housing market's been on a wild ride, but now many fear it is poised to crash. Experts across Metro Atlanta real estate industry explain why it's unlikely and offer an idea of what to expect in 2023. This is on the ABC. Here's all the questions your people are asking you. Hey, will home prices go down? Will inventory come back? How might a recession impact everything? Blah, blah, blah. Waiting to see what's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. But Matt, why don't you take us through this? What do you think liquidity means? What does there's liquidity on the sideline mean?
There's liquidity on the sideline. There's, to me, just reading this article now, I would say there's a lot of wealth on the sideline that's looking to invest right now. are looking to redistribute right now.
Yeah, all the equity accumulation over the last couple of years, all the appreciation that was done in real estate has technically put cash on the balance sheet for consumers. If you understand my analogy, meaning they're not upside down, they're not mortgaged all the way up really tight to the value of their properties. So if we, I read one article that said a lot of homes appreciated 50% of the value of the property since before the pandemic. Well, if you own the house before the pandemic and the value of your house basically has gone 1.5, man, there's a lot of cash in that house. Mm-hmm. And so if you have to discount it a little bit to sell to move up to your dream house, right, probably not the end of the world, right? And that's what I think liquidity means, is there's room to play with there, yeah, right? The Atlanta market's doing okay. I'd say more than doing okay. A lot of publications are ranking Atlanta as the #1 real estate market in 2023. Mm-hmm. They expect Atlanta to be the top real estate market this year, which just is a blessing for us to live, make a living, and sell real estate in the metro Atlanta area, right? Like,
where did you see that? Where did you read that?
I can find the article, but I mean, you could probably
there's a few. It's the most recession-proof city in the country is one of them, and they list a number of the counties with that. But it has a lot to do with the unemployment we went over earlier and the affordability / with demand.
Trying to find here you go. Top 10 housing markets on NAR. And Atlanta, Sandy Springs, Marietta, Georgia is #1. And this is identified by NAR. I'll put this article in the chat for everybody. So I've read it in a couple different publications, Jeff. So quite honestly, I think you're going to have consumers that are reading national media with some concerns, but we should be educated and data rich to just squash it quickly and say, not where we live. Maybe, I hope nobody's from Detroit, maybe Detroit, Michigan, but not in Atlanta, Georgia, right? And that's a really big deal. I mean, come on, we are #1 real estate market expected to thrive next year. And it has to do with affordability, number of renters who can afford to buy a medium price home, job growth, unemployment, migration gains, increase in inventory, less housing shortages, right? If you have a buyer that wants to buy a house, they can buy a house right now. Yep. Right? That's the key. So all these things are doing awesome. Our market is very resilient. What does that mean? Our average price is affordable. Meaning you don't have to be generationally wealthy to buy real estate in Atlanta, Georgia. And quite honestly, it attracts big corporations because their employees can afford to buy real estate here. Where you can go to some of the Northeast or even the Northwest, and real estate's unaffordable to your typical person. So our affordability is such a big deal to why our real estate market is so strong. And then obviously I think new construction's an unspoken factor why Atlanta is such a great market.
And yeah, Brett, I'd just add that, I mean, the affordability comment is so important because there is this huge group of young people who in our market can actually afford to still buy their first home. In many other markets, either they don't have the job growth for young people or they cannot afford the home prices within their 20s or even early 30s.
Yeah. And then the last article I brought, which I think is hysterical, U-Haul tracks how many one-way moves people make. And it's probably a really good data source if you think about it.
Migration patterns. Yeah.
Yeah. Who uses U-Haul? First-time home buyers, college students, and probably median income and down,
Mhm.
which is probably your median price house. So I would think somebody buying a 300 and something $1,000 house would consider using U-Haul to move, right? But they have Georgia as number 8 in destinations for U-Haul patterns and migration patterns. So if you look at it, it's basically the Southeast, Texas, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, and then Georgia is number 8. So this is a good data source from just saying, hey, we are where it's at. And that's such a big deal.
Mhm.
So Matt, summarize what I'm saying today.
You want me to do it in Chat GPT? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I would say that what you're telling us is there's one, you've got to be educated on how to respond to how people are interpreting the market. That's what we're seeing a lot of, the objections. And are we prepared with actual real data on what's actually happening? And now is actually a really good time to buy or sell. Number 2, I'd say be in the right mindset. We just showed you a lot of data that shows that the market has picked up. The market is good right now, and the market is not out of control in a negative way whatsoever. There's still a lot of people transacting real estate in our FMLS right now. So that'd be my top 2 takeaways, Brett, would be the mindset piece, and then be prepared with data to handle objections.
100%. Any questions? I put the ABC article in the chat. We put the NAR article in the chat. Any other questions we could address? We got a couple minutes extra here. All right.